Starting lineup, uniforms, and apparel present the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. Hello everybody, Andrew Rogers here, the host of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. This is episode number 12. Thank you very much for watching. We are into June now. It's Monday, June the 1st. Thank you very much for joining me as always. Thanks to Mitch Scott from Starting Lineup Uniform and Apparel, our presenting sponsor. It's great to be back once again with you. I hope everybody had a nice weekend. A lot of craziness going on in the world, and it's I don't really know what to make of it, heads or tails, honestly. It's just, at one point I'm saddened, at another I'm extremely grateful. And the fact that, I am where I am and that I'm safe and that I'm away from all the craziness. Like, not to discredit anyone who has to face it every day. And you know what? I'm not taking anything away from them. But at the same time, I'm extremely grateful that I'm nowhere near it because, it's just something that I just couldn't even begin to fathom what I would think about it. And, I don't stand for any of it, for any of the actions that led to George Floyd's death. It's just awful. Everything is just awful, and it's just so hard to watch. And you just hate to see it. And like I said, extremely grateful, and definitely very lucky to be where I am and to have my health and what's left of it, anyways, and to be able to continue to live every day, and not have to face head on the kinds of things that other people have to face. And, my heart goes out to those people and the victims and everybody else. And, I just want peace, it just be nice for everything to be restored before all this chaos and before all the destructiveness, like back to when things were normal. And just everything is gone crazy. Like, you look at 2020 as a whole and you want to say, hey, can we start this over? Can't believe how many posts and tweets I've seen that say that say, hey, this 2020 sucks, man. Let's start this over. And it couldn't be further from the truth. But we press on, and we want to keep this podcast going. We want to keep it alive because especially with the senior hockey after it was canceled in the midst of the playoffs, and no season. The season didn't end the way anybody would have wanted it to, especially the 6 teams still in it. But we press on, like I said, with this podcast because at least we can maintain something in terms of sports and everyday life, and be able to continue to bring you entertainment when it comes to the Senior AA Men's Hockey League. So like I said, we are at episode number 12 now. A couple of upcoming guests that we have on the schedule. This upcoming Wednesday is a real treat. We have Reed and Chad Swartzentruber, a couple of brothers who played in the WOAA Senior AA Men's League last year. Reed for Lucknow and Chad for Tillsonburg. We also have Scott Stafford coming onto the program. Reed and Chad come in on Wednesday, while Scott Stafford from the Tillsonburg Thunder comes in on Friday. So we're very excited for our next 2 sets of guests that's upcoming this week on the podcast. But today's guest is he's an assistant coach with the Petrolia Squires. He coached alongside his dad, Craig Prudom, and his name is Jake Prudom, the assistant coach of the Petrolia Squires. He's our guest on today's episode of the podcast number 12, WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. So at this point, we welcome in our guest. At this time, he is an assistant coach for the Petrolia Squires alongside his father, Craig. We are speaking now with Jake Prudom. Jake, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew, for having me. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything you're doing for the league, and I just want to say keep up the great work, man.
Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate you getting that out of the way off the hop. That's awesome. Much appreciation for that. Jake, it's great to have you on. The first question I've been asking everybody more or less is just how are you doing? COVID obviously has hit everybody a bit differently. How are you doing with everything? Are you still working? What's going on with you, pal?
Yeah, so when COVID hit, it was was pretty tough on not just my family, but for everybody. And it's kind of a crappy situation we're all in right now. I mean, I'm one of the fortunate ones that's still able to go to work about 5-6 times a week over at Lowe's Home Improvement in Sarnia. I did get laid off from my other job, which was pretty unlucky, but I'm still fortunate enough that I have another job. I'm still fortunate that my father's still in the plants working.
Good.
Mother's still working from home, and sister's finishing up school. So I guess everybody in the family's doing all right for the situation we're all in right now. But yeah, I'm glad to be in the situation we're in, and I hope things get better real soon.
Yeah, no doubt, absolutely. It's great to hear everybody's doing well. Jake, it was a tough year last year for Petrolia. Would you say that's about accurate?
Yeah, it's a way to put it. I'd put it more as a roller coaster. I think it was a wild season. You know, a lot of ups, a lot of downs.
Right.
You know, it's definitely one of the more crazier seasons we've been a part of. I think just of the way things have gone, and you know, not the way we wanted to finish off, and not the way we wanted things to go. But you know, sometimes those things happen, and we just got to get over that hump and hopefully look to improve.
Yeah, like, I mean, when you look back on the season, maybe as a whole, like, you know, like, you guys got off to a pretty decent start, and then the rails really seemed to come off, at least from an outsider's perspective. Like what happened?
You know what? It's tough, man. You know, you get into a couple good games with great opponents. You know, this is a very tough league to play in. You got to come in and play hard every night, all 60 minutes. Doesn't even matter what team. You can go from down the list from Ripley to Lucknow to Clinton. You know, you name it off the board. Everybody's a tough opponent. So when you don't come ready to compete, it's pretty often to have an off night, or when things go wrong, to not get the 2 points that you're looking for.
What would you say would have been your biggest hurdle to try and work around? Like, I mean, on any given night, like, I know there's a lot of things that the other guys, they speak of when it comes to how important this league is. Like, they say that dedication and commitment is so huge. Like, would you say that played a little bit of a role in how the season went for Petrolia?
Yeah, I would say it definitely had a little bit of to do with it. I mean, I know a lot of you guys from the outside are looking in and you know, not seeing a lot of numbers on the bench there and a lot of our road games. And you know what? It's you know, it's a tough commitment to make, but it's tough to win with not enough guys on the bench. And I'm not taking shots at anybody by any means. I get it. It's tough. Guys got families, work.
Sure.
A lot of our guys just had kids right around the same time, so it was kind of tough to get those numbers. It really is a numbers game as you go forward through the whole season. It hurts when you're missing that extra key guy that you need to put out there to get guys off that are tired. So.
And no, I get that, Jake. And I mean, obviously, yeah, if you're struggling with numbers on any given day, it's tough to formulate a game plan, and it's tough to be competitive, especially in this league with how competitive it was last year. I mean, I was saying it all season long that last year was probably the most competitive year it's ever been in the whole league. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I would agree with that. You know, you go down the board, even the fight for, you know, AA with your Mapleton Minto 81s, you know, the way they battled back all season. You look at other teams, you know, look at Lucknow, Milverton. You know, we were in a dogfight with them just for seeding in the A playoff. But,
right.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be competitive, and that's how it is. It's how it's been for the 3 years I've been here. You know what? It keeps getting more competitive with all the young guys coming up and from junior and coming up and playing for their hometown teams or playing for clubs that, you know, desperately need them. And, you know, they come to play every night. And, yeah, it's just competitive, I think, is a little bit of an understatement. Do you attribute to the fact that you guys are so far out of the way in terms of distance traveled to get there? Do you find that that's a disadvantage to you guys? I wouldn't really say it's a disadvantage. Like when the guys go on the road trips, it's always a blast. On the ways down and on the ways home. It's always going to be tough after a loss, but I mean,
Sure.
The wins are always fun, and even they make the trips well worth it. And I don't even think sometimes you look at it. It may be a disadvantage to go down on the road, but I mean it might be an advantage for us when when teams travel down to play us in Petrolia, and you can look at it both ways there, honestly, with the advantage of being on the road, but also being at home, being a distance away.
Yeah, no doubt. When you look back at the season there, Jake, speaking with Jake Prudom of the Petrolia Squires assistant coach, when you look back on the season, can you pick a highlight, like a moment that stands above the rest in terms of a feel-good moment that you could take away from the season?
Yeah, there's definitely a few feel-good moments in there. You know what? I'm going to start off with this might be a shot right at you in Mapleton, but that home opener against you guys, that first win to get the season going was definitely a really good feel-good moment for the start of the season.
No
I can name another right off the top of my head was a early trip down to Clinton. It was our first win down in Clinton in a few years, and it was a really tough battle game. Brandon Campbell, our goalie, stole the show that game, and pulled out I think it was a 3-2 win. Really close, and it was very competitive all game long. We were all on our toes all game long, and it was a stressful one to be behind the bench for, but it was very exciting and very intriguing. And one more that I can probably name off the top of my head was when we got to sign Ed DuPont for a game, father of Ethan DuPont, one of our players, and got the two of them on the ice together, and it was really feel-good moment, for the family. And sadly, Ed didn't get in the net for the game because it was a tough one, but
right.
You know what, it was still good to see both of them out there at the same time. It was definitely a feel-good moment for being family members for sure.
Well, that's great, man. I'm glad you're able to pick out some shining moments in a season that didn't, obviously work out the way that you guys had hoped, I'm sure. You could speak to this a little bit, you and your dad on the bench, that's something that's actually that I find really interesting about this league, that you have that ability, father and son, coaching duo, right on the bench. What's that like, coaching alongside Craig?
Oh, it's a dream come true. You never even think about remotely being able to coach with your father, at least from where I'm at my age, being 19 years old. A lot of kids my age can't really say that they're senior AAA hockey coaches along with their fathers. So it was a very lucky, I would say, circumstance. I would say it's a very amazing. I love it, every bit of it. Every time I get to go to the rink with him, it makes my day. Even if I'm having a bad day at work or school or something, it definitely makes my day when I get to go to the rink with him, practice with the guys, and being alongside with him. The techniques he's been teaching me to maybe have me be a coach someday as well. So it's great to have that learning experience from someone really close to me and someone I really strive to be one day.
Right on. I love that, man. That's really awesome. I want you to talk to me about Owen Rogers. I believe he led your team in scoring this past year. Outstanding player. He really torched us in the season opener, like you said. But I saw a lot of skill in his game. How impressed were you with him throughout the season?
Oh yeah, Owen's a 5-tool player, man. He's got everything. I love watching him play, and every circumstance, and it was a shame that he got injured there near the end of the year. And because every time I go to the rink, I want to see more from him, and he's that kind of guy that I know can bring it every night. He's a great guy off the ice too. He fits in well with the other players, and he's a great role model and a great leader for all those guys that are coming up and trying to play for us.
Yeah, no, I also noticed too that you guys lean pretty heavily on Brandon Campbell. He played a lot of games, a lot of minutes for you guys this year. Can you speak a bit about his play throughout the course of the season for you guys last year?
Oh yeah, Soupy was definitely, we call him Soupy.
I get that.
Brandon was a big key for our team, not just even this year, but even years past. And he's been solid guy back in the net for us. I've got no bad things to say about him. It was tough for him at the end of the year. He was having a kid, so it was kind of tough to get him to get to the games and stuff. But you know what? When he's out there in the net for us, he grinds and he makes sure that puck stays out of the net. And he's the kind of goaltender that I would definitely trust in a playoff series for sure.
Right on. Now, so speaking of playoffs, is a perfect lead into my next question. That best of three series there with Lucknow, I mean, I know there was a lot of talking, and I know there was a lot of controversy over how the league determined that schedule and everything else. What happened there?
Basically just a little bit of a background is, two sides not really getting the schedule they preferably wanted.
Right.
And it was really just coming down to a vote of, what the league was. It's up to the league at this point. It was tough for both teams because, there were certain days that, we didn't want to play, and there were certain days that we were trying to stay away from, and there were certain days that Lucknow was trying to stay away from.
Sure.
So it was kind of tough to come to a decision there to decide when we were going to play, but I don't know if I'd really call it a controversy. I just kind of call it a little bit of a disagreement that, kind of maybe escalated a little bit.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the league chose the schedule and made the schedule for us, and you know what? That's how it is. And you know what? Sometimes we can't really control that, but it's tough. But at the end of the day, it's the league's call and the league's decision, and it went all the way down to them. So I got nothing to say. I got nothing to fire or shoot at them for. They made the schedule, and we did the best that we could to make it work with us, and sadly it didn't work out with us. But you know what? That's the way things go sometimes, and
I get that.
We can really do about that.
I get that, man. And hey, you know what? I gotta say, I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the comments about it, because I mean, I don't mean to put you in a tough spot. I guess I was just more or less, curious as to how that all shook down.
It was for sure. It was definitely tough negotiations there with. It was a little bit of a back and forth, but you know what? It was a mutual disagreement between Dave, and that's all that was. There was nothing more than that.
I get it. Now, so then the last thing I want to, one of the last things I want to ask you, at least about one of the players that I was asking you about before, Matt Slotwinski. He actually, was all over the ice this past year. Probably played every position on in terms of forward to defense, and then he got in some games in goal. What can you say about him?
Oh, Slotsy. You know what? It's the kind of thing that helps us, like when we're on the road and we're short, and when Soupy's having a kid, and you know what? Sadly, Slotsy was having his at the same time as well. But you know what? He did the best that he could to make those games. He's very committed, and you know what? I mean, he's a great guy. It's very tough to keep him out of the lineup as well when he's being at the rink as much as he is. Nobody's more committed and determined than him, and you know what? He knows his role, and he loves playing, and you know what? You can't really ask much more from him as a coach. So, you know what? I love Slotsy. I always have big respect for Slotsy, and you know what? The feeling's mutual, I hope.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure it is, Jake. I'm sure it is. So you say you've been doing this thing for 3 years now in the league, and obviously you probably followed it plenty before that. What would you say to somebody who is looking to get into this league as a player? Like, what would you say to somebody, like, to sell them on the idea of this league? What would you say to that?
Well, I'll be straightforward with them and say, hey man, it's a very competitive league. A lot of guys that are coming out of junior are expecting, that their junior career is over, and it's done. They just go on and play beer league, a lot of them. But you know what? I would go up to, a guy that we're really interested in and just tell him that, you know what, I like what I see from you, and just come on out and give her a try. And it's a very competitive league, very competitive. Guys are all great. Mutual respect between, I think, every team in the league. A lot of great group of guys playing. Basically that, you know what, if they want to, I think this is basically their second chance, that they want to keep playing, keep showing everybody what they got. You look at all the talent that's come out of the junior hockey league out of the last few years that I've been here. It's been incredible, and I think we can definitely sell a lot of people off just that fact alone of how many junior players have come out and played senior hockey and been able to light it up. And, I definitely think that a lot of them could too.
No, yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, I'm full supportive of this league and how great it is.
Yeah.
So why Petrolia then? Why would anybody want to come and play for Petrolia? Why should somebody come your way? I mean, if they're from the area, that's one bonus, but why the Squires?
Man, Squire hockey is as old-fashioned as it gets. I mean, we're not as physical as we used to be anymore. I know from firsthand from watching them in the old days, but
right.
You know what? It's great hockey. You got a great fan support behind us. A great town to be in. Lots of great people, that love and hate us, sometimes when things are going well. It's a tough fan base, but you know what?
Right.
Fans are great. We love them. Management and all these guys are great. The group of players, they all have a mutual respect between one another. I think a lot of them are really close friends. Actually, a lot of them probably don't get as close, before they start playing here. And I think a lot of them get closer as they get with the team and, a lot closer. A lot of guys are going out after the games at the bars and, upstairs. Yeah. It's a great way to, get to know some people and get to know a lot of, hopefully a lot of close friends that you're going to have later on down the road.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's such an interesting league in that sense, absolutely. So this is kind of a joint question. This is a two-part question, kind of. So Petrolia's 50th season didn't go as planned, obviously, and didn't end the way that I think a lot of people wanted it to, at least in the Petrolia organization. What about season 51? If and when it does happen, what's in store for the Squires? Where do we go from here?
Well, as I always kind of have been told by my father, you can only go up from here. So I really think that, I think this season was kind of a little bit of a punch in the gut, to kind of wake up. And I think we definitely could do some damage next year, man. I think, as competitive as this league is, and I keep saying it countless times, you never know what you're going to get on a night in and night out basis. I definitely think that Squires can be competitive all throughout. I think, as long as we get the numbers to show up and as long as we get guys to come or the season actually gets going, I definitely think we can be competitive, and I definitely think we have a shot at making AA like we did 2 years ago.
Right. Do you have a lot of fear, though, Jake, that the season may not go ahead as scheduled this upcoming September?
Well, yeah, there's definitely going to be a little bit of fear for, the possibility of not having a season or not having, half a season. It's going to definitely be tough on everybody, you name it, the players, the management, the fans, even the sponsors. Right. A lot of people put their time and effort and money into this, and for a season basically not to happen would definitely be not the greatest situation for a lot of teams in this league. It's tough, but you know what? We can only hope and wait and see what happens with the next coming weeks, months, and just only hope from here that we can hopefully get a season going, any way possible, because we definitely would love to get the guys back out on the rink and play some hockey.
Absolutely. Are you participating in any sports in the meantime this summer? Are you gonna try and do anything specific?
I mean, I would like to. I definitely was. I'm a baseball player. I play it at my college. So I don't really see that happening too much. So probably just gonna get out on the links and maybe shoot some golf here for for the time being. Hopefully we can get some hockey going in the fall. I would love to get the season going because it's definitely my favorite time of year is when everybody comes in back and we get the season going.
Absolutely.
I hope things get better here soon, but you know what? Like I said, you can only hope and wait and I guess pray or, however you look at it. But I hope all you can do really is just wait and see what happens with, the world. The world's changing and we got to change with it. So
absolutely. You got any golf courses down there that you like to play in particular?
I play golf course 2 minutes down the road, actually, in Moortown. Moortown golf course down there is pretty nice. There's a few in Sarnia that are around that are pretty nice as well. Yeah. Definitely a different variety of golf courses, I'd say, to try and hit up before the summer's over. But you know what? Only time will tell, I guess.
You shoot them pretty good?
No. I'm definitely not the best golfer you'll bring with you, for sure.
But yeah, you know what? The idea is just to be able to get out and do something, though, instead of saying hold up in the house, right?
Yeah, you know what? It definitely it's definitely good when we can get outside and even go for walks or bike rides, or a lot of me and my father going to work. That's sometimes good for us as well.
Absolutely.
But definitely getting outside and doing something will definitely make for a better summer.
Good, man. Good.
While we're social distancing.
Yeah, got to make sure you distance, no question.
Yeah.
Jake, it's been a pleasure having you on. I do appreciate you coming on and talking to us about Petrolia and the Squires and the season. And if I do get a chance to come back out there, I do absolutely look forward to it. It's a great hockey town, and it was wonderful last year, and I look forward to it again. So thank you very much for joining us. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Keep up what you're doing, like I said, man. And hopefully we'll talk soon.
All right. Once again, we want to say thank you to our guest today, Jake Prudom, the assistant coach of the Petrolia Squires. Thank you very much, Jake, for joining us. We want to look ahead now. Our next guests on the program, as mentioned earlier, are Reed and Chad Schwarzentrooper, brothers who played in the WOAA last year. Reed with Lucknow, the Lucknow Lancers, and Chad with the Tillsonburg Thunder. One of the interesting topics that I'm going to want to ask them about is a game that they played against each other earlier this season. So that's going to be really interesting to talk with them. As well, we're going to talk with Scott Stafford of the Tillsonburg Thunder on Friday. Really looking forward to having him on the program. So that and more you can look forward to right here on the home of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. I am Andrew Rogers, your host, saying good night. And thank you very much for watching. I want to thank Mitch Scott at Starting Lineup Uniform and Apparel, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.